So the next segment on digitization, I am pleased to be the presenter for this topic. I am James, the Vice President for Collections and Services here at CRL, and we're very happy to present to you a program in development here. This is the first peek that any of the CRL member institutions have had into our new digital delivery system, and we're very happy to roll this out, even though we are still continuing to develop and augment this system. So count this discussion as subject to further development as we go, and in particular, we're looking for your feedback on the system itself. First of all, I do want to say I am pleased to present on this, although I am not at all responsible for the work that you're about to see. Credit needs to go to CRL's Systems Department, as well as our Technical Services Department in the conception and development of CRL's digital delivery system. They have been working extremely hard over the past, 9 months to a year on rolling out the new system. With the added input and assistance from CRL's collection management team, as well as all of those who are actually physically handling the materials that are being digitized and rolled into the system itself. So thank you all. Just to frame this conversation, for those who may not have been paying as much attention to this topic, CRL has been working in the digital sphere for nearly 12 years now, providing digital delivery of resources from our collections and from partner institutions in response to requests from patrons at your libraries. The digital delivery, as it was originally conceived, was seen as a mechanism to deliver the content in a format other than the physical materials which we hold here. This was a way to provide the collections in a manner that it was increasingly demanded from patrons, but it was also a way for us to save wear and tear on the increasingly fragile collections within the CRL confines. Although we maintain state-of-the-art preservation capabilities here at CRL, the collection itself was born in the early 20th century, in the middle of the brittle books era, and so we're continually monitoring the fragility of the newsprint, for example, which is highly acidic, and we're looking for ways that we can increase access to those materials in other formats. We also engage in strategic digitization of resources here at CRL and at member institutions, and those resources are prioritized by the member libraries themselves. Be it through major digitization partnership in newspapers or in scientific serials. These are areas where we've been looking to make larger quantities of collections available to the researchers beyond the simple interlibrary loan requests that we're receiving. We also work closely with our communities of interests, such as the partnerships in law and science, technology, and engineering, or in agriculture, to make collections available on a strategic basis, and gather active input from programs like the Area Materials Projects, the AMPs, here at CRL, in identifying and digitizing and making accessible resources. Finally, I should mention, we are increasing our support and our efforts towards open access and shared digital resources. As was discussed in the, I believe, 2016 annual council meeting, there was strong support from among the members in making materials that are in the public domain widely accessible beyond just the CRL member institutions. And so since January 1 of 2017, any resources that are found to be in the public domain when we digitize them, we are making those openly accessible to the public. Any materials that are in the gray areas or perhaps subject to additional copyright restrictions are still available only to the CRL member institutions. We're also providing strategic support for the growing interest among our communities in making more content openly accessible, such as the South Asia Open Archives project, which was born out of the sample program here at CRL. So the result of the work that we've been doing over the past 11 or 12 years has been an increasing body of materials made available to all CRL member institutions as well as to the greater public. As of this month, Within the CRL's digital delivery system, there are more than 27,000 titles that have been digitized in part or in whole and available to your patrons. That includes or encompasses over 15 million pages of content that are stored on CRL's digital delivery servers and made accessible through CRL's online catalog. And as I mentioned, in terms of the open access collections, now 55% of our digital collections in DDS are openly accessible to the public, whereas 45% are still available only to CRL member institutions. So just to give a little further context before we demo the new system, let me give you just a brief technical history of our system itself. This has been subject to development and improvement all along the way, but these are the major phases in which we launched our digital delivery system. Beginning in 2006 and up till about 2014, CRL's DDS was a homegrown system here in order to host the content that we were scanning and making available to the researchers. Once we scan and deliver those materials to the scholars, we retain a copy on our servers for access by all CRL member institutions to support future research activities. Originally, those files were uploaded as multi-page PDF files with OCR text behind them. In order to reduce the download size, we would break them into chunks of materials. So for multi-page volumes, we might have broken those up into pages of maybe 100 pages or limited to a certain size of files so that they could be more easily downloaded by the patrons themselves. In cases of journals or newspapers, we break those contents down by a volume or by an issue. And you can see here in the screen cap for one of the early serial titles that we digitized, each of the volumes or issue dates were listed in a hierarchy so that you could browse from one to the next and download those as PDF files. The next phase of the digital delivery system, what we've called internally DDS2, was an attempt to ramp up the navigability and the usability of the materials themselves. Rather than just hosting PDF files, we began uploading single-page PDFs that were navigable through an integrated PDF viewer. This is what you'll see for much of the material that's been scanned since 2014, is an in-screen viewer where you can browse from page to page. You could navigate from issue to issue. You could select multiple pages to download, be it just a portion of a title or the entire file contents of that title that you see on the screen. We also provided some increased navigation for newspapers in particular by launching a calendar browse for those, so you could browse the newspaper by year and then by the date of publication as shown on the masthead. And here you can just see some examples of those improvements as they're shown within our DDS system. As I mentioned, the downloads of the materials are created PDF documents on the fly so that you could select a portion of the materials and download those collections with embedded OCR to improve the full text searchability. You'll note in this iteration of DDS, there was continued OCR within the files that you see on the screen, but the ability to search across an entire item or an entire title was limited within the integrated PDF viewer, but you could search across the entire downloaded materials at will. Finally, as part of DDS2, we also implemented some custom-built collection navigation for special collections within CRL's digital resources. Those included things like the Chinese propaganda pamphlets that we had put up online several years back, and a new program that we completed in 2016 to digitize a selection of official gazettes and other documentation from foreign governments that were seen to be not particularly transparent or didn't have the legacy of their legislative resources published online. So we launched the Official Gazettes and Civil Society documentation page to host those collections and to make them searchable both to CRL members as well as to individuals within those countries of interest themselves. So in 2018, April of 2018, we have launched what we are calling DDS Next, or the Next Generation Digital Delivery System. This was born out of an interest expressed by our members, as well as needs that we foresaw for future digital collection building, to make the material more accessible and more functional, to keep up with the Joneses, as you will, in order to make those contents more searchable, more accessible, and in line with more recent standards and procedures followed by our member institutions. So we launched IIIF compliant framework to allow for the image-based hosting of these materials. We've built in substantial enhancements to the navigation, both within items that you'll see in the collection, as well as among items, say from issue to issue or from title to title. We've also greatly expanded the full-text searchability of the collections and the items within those in order for you to search across an entire issue of a journal or an entire volume of a book. We've also enhanced the metadata surrounding those documents within the DDS system to improve your discovery and linking between different items in the DDS system. Finally, we've built the capacity for cross-collection search for all the materials that are hosted within the Next Generation system, so that one can search across different titles or different collections within those materials, greatly enhancing the discovery and research practices within CRL's digital delivery system. The resulting display, we're going to just take a little bit of time to tour through that to show you some of the highlights, but this is a screenshot of one of the titles that we sent out as a link to the registrants and to CRL members who are interested in registering in this presentation itself, and that's one of the official journals from Senegal, where you can see the navigation. We're going to go to the live site so that I can show you just some of the highlights of the new platform under which our materials are being made accessible. So they're handing off the screen sharing to me, and I'll just take you through this very briefly. I selected a title just based on an example of one of the types of materials you'll find in the new system. And this is a political satire magazine from Latin America that from the 19th century that was quite well known for its caricatures and from its use of early lithograph printing within the press itself. So it's a very useful title for people to take a look at both the text and the images in the materials. And therefore it was an ideal candidate for our DDS Next system. Just as a tip for those who are watching at home, if it's hard to see some of the text on this screen, towards the top of the WebEx platform, you can see kind of two arrows pointing in opposite directions to expand your screen to a full screen view. That might help you see the screen as we navigate. And I'm going to do that here myself. I'm going to see if I can highlight it for you. No, I can't quite get to the top of that screen to highlight it, but you should see it towards the top right of your viewing screen itself. So the DDS system, as I said, was built within a IIIF framework, and we're using one of the open source IIIF viewers here to show the content. So within that system, there's a number of features that you can use to navigate and search within the collections themselves. For instance, the index tab here on the screen, when you can see it, shows the hierarchical view of all of the items. In this case, these are particular issues of the title itself, so that you can navigate down chronologically to various issues within this title itself. These are individual items within the title structure of La Orquesta. Also, for the particular item you're in, and this is the issue from 1861, March the 1st, if you click on the thumbnail screen here, you can get a visual view of all the pages within this item itself, so that you could potentially navigate to, say, images or a table of contents or an index at the end of a particular item. Within the viewer itself, it usually provides a compressed view of the image, which is easily enlarged and enhances the resolution of that material as you can go. And so you can use this to navigate and read through the text itself. Within each item itself, you can also thumb from page to page, both back and forth, next and previous pages. And that's also embedded inside the viewer itself. So if you choose to go to a full screen, you can use that navigation as you go. Just want to keep my notes with me so I don't miss anything. In addition to the navigation within a particular item, we've built some added features in here that we've incorporated through our development of earlier DDS systems. And for journals and for newspapers, if these items are serial issues, you can navigate straight through to the next item by clicking a handy button here, and this will take you to the next date in the hierarchy. For those who are interested in looking at the span in a different way, we've also built in the calendar function that we integrated into DDS2, so that you can look at a particular title and see the full range of what's available within DDS, which you can browse then by year or perhaps particular date of those materials. And if you just click on one of those dates, it'll bring you right into that particular issue itself. So finally, I want to show just briefly the text search within these items. So you see the full text title search terms that you can put in here. And I've just plugged in a canned search here for the National Theater, which is frequently mentioned in this, as announcements of various activities that were going on within the theater of Mexico City itself. So when you get your search results, and if you click on a particular date, and let me just go back so that you can see that, the search results will show by relevance here. And if you click on any particular date that you're interested in seeing, the search results will pop up embedded within the materials themselves. And I scroll down so that you can see at the bottom of the page here the results that are found within this particular item. And if I click in just a little bit further in, you'll see that your hit terms are usually highlighted just as a result of the OCR coordination. And so if you're looking for particular words or for with a quote itself, all of the search results will pull up as highlighted text. If there were multiple searches in this item, you'd be able to navigate quickly from one result to the next using the next result or previous results at the bottom. I chose one at random, and I chose poorly because many of them have multiple views, and you can just navigate quickly from result to result to find that. Finally, I just want to point out that the added metadata for the material is embedded within the DDS system, and if you click View Details at the top of the screen, you'll see all of the metadata information that we're populating into the system. This is important both for understanding the history of the publication and the subject areas, but all of this metadata is searchable within the DDS system itself, and that will improve the discovery of both this title as well as others. I should also point out that we're linking to the official catalog record within CRL's catalog, so that you can go back to CRL's digital resources within our catalog to view both this and other items within that collection itself. Let me take you now to an example of a collection search. And we're very pleased to announce that we've been working on upgrading one of our legacy digital collections that has been a highlight of CRL's digital resources, and that's the Brazilian government documents digital materials. This was a program that we began in the 1990s as an early digital effort from Microfilm, which was funded by the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation. And this was an attempt to build a large-scale system of digital resources for increased access and discovery. At the time, microfilm scanning was not a standard practice at that point. It was also not easy to OCR the collections for those materials at times. So we built a very extensive set of metadata and descriptive information about an index, if you will, of contents that you could find from page to page. But the collection itself was limited to browsing from page to page and reading the text as images on the screen. Through the hard work of our team here, we've been upgrading those materials by reprocessing them using state-of-the-art OCR techniques, and integrating those single item images into title level and item level browsability within the material, so that now these materials are going to be fully searchable and fully navigable by the users themselves. This is a great enhancement to the collection, and we'll be very pleased to announce it when it's fully complete. So what we've done here is created collections for the materials, including the Brazilian government documents as a specific collection in the DDS system. And within this collection, then, you can see the major titles, such as the ministerial reports or the presidential reports, or some of the other legacy content within the Brazilian government documents collection. And so you could limit to any particular one of those by clicking the tagged subject areas, such as ministerial reports, to further limit the results of your materials. However, what I just want to show you briefly is the cross-collection searchability, and I've put a search term here within the search box on this page, just so you can see that this material will search not just any single item, but it will search across all of them and produce the hit results found in any one of these particular collection items. So searching for infectious diseases, which is an item that's not well indexed in the previous collection effort by LAMP, you can get some results within the ministerial reports, as well as the earliest collection of the Almanac Lemert, which was about the Republic of Brazil. I'm just going to select one so that we can see what kind of results we get. And I selected the Ministerial of Justice here. And when you click on your results, you'll see the results, again, within the individual items that show up here. And here you can see multiple results that were found of these search terms within this document itself. So you can just click on one, and it brings up the hits for the search keywords that you've used. You'll note here that I typed in 2 words without quotes, so it would search for the instance of both of those words within this, but not necessarily contiguous. You could use quotes to further refine your search for a particular hit of those words here. So it helps for when you don't know the exact construction, like something like infectious contagious diseases that are presented in the results here as well. I should also just mention that if you wanted to further refine your search within these items itself, you can continue to use the search box up here at the top of your screen. You can add some terms to this, or you could replace the terms to search additional terms within this item itself. So that's just a quick highlight of the system, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I wanted just to issue 1 or 2 caveats and then make sure to take any of your questions. The DDSNext system has just been launched, and it contains about 125 distinct titles that we've been making available. We foresee continuing to use this system as the future delivery system for all of CRL's digitization resources. However, at this time, we're still in development of the material, and we will continue to work on upgrades and improvements to the system to be able to host additional content. But I did want to caution that the DDSNext system, particularly now and for the foreseeable future, will still only host a subset of the CRL digitized resources. And the pie on the screen will show you the breadth of resources that we have available through various systems. Admittedly, it's not the perfect solution, but it is one that we foresee improving over time. But within CRL's DDS system at large, we have over 5 million pages on-demand scanning, as well as 10 million pages ingested from strategic digitization opportunities. We also, I should mention, have various collections that are hosted outside of CRL's system, such as those digitized by LLMC Digital, or those that are on offer for purchase, such as the World Newspaper Archive, or the annual periodical serials from ProQuest. So what I can recommend at this point is that you still consider CRL's online catalog as the go-to place for discovery of CRL online resources. all of our digitized resources have been cataloged using electronic records with links to the materials wherever they may be within our system. This is still the most foolproof way for you to provide discovery for your patrons for all of CRL's digital resources. I will add that we do make our records available for downloading and locally hosting within your system, and we have provided subsets of just the electronic resources for you to load into your local system. We have found hands down that this is the best way for you to provide access to these materials in a seamless and integrated fashion to your patrons. We also make those records available as KBART files through the major discovery systems, and we've devoted considerable previous webinars to that topic. So if you're interested in any of those, I will gladly refer you to the appropriate people here to discuss how you can do that. So finally, I just wanted to mention what we're thinking in terms of the next steps, and that is continuing refinement of the program, of the new system itself. As we work out some of the kinks and some of the quirks that we find, we're continuing to make those improvements. But the next stage for us is to begin to ramp up the ingest of materials into that system. We also intend to implement more sophisticated authentication and IP recognition within that system to enable greater flexibility for the types of materials that we're going to make available in DDSNext. In other words, the member-only content that currently cannot be hosted in DDS because we don't have that authentication system yet in place. Once we put that in place, we can increase the range of materials that we'll put into DDSNext. As I said earlier, we envision this as the future locale of CRL's digitized resources moving forward, but we're sort of in a transition point at this moment. We also intend to improve those front-end features and the functionality as we find things that may not be lining up with our expectations, and especially by the feedback from you and your patrons. So I do encourage you to use the feedback button that you'd see on the DDSNext system. There's a little orange button that says feedback. Please click on that and give us kudos or critiques. We will gladly take those in hand and make improvements per your suggestions. And finally, we will continue to make improvements in the system as IIIF continues to develop its own developments, improvements in open source tools or code or viewers. We're going to be monitoring and continuing to make those improvements along the way as we can go. So I have just a few minutes, I think, for Q&A, and I know some comments have been pouring in as I was sharing the screen. I wasn't able to read them as I go. The first one I did see was a question about what we consider public domain. And that is, of course, a tricky issue for an international organization such as CRL. For the moment, what we consider public domain is public domain as it is encoded where we live in the United States. So right now, clearly in the public domain here is all content prior to 1923. So any materials that we find pre-23, subject to perhaps any other particular restrictions on those materials, we do make those openly accessible. There are additional materials that might be in the gray area of copyright in the United States, and some of those we visit on a case-by-case basis to determine whether we can make those accessible. I should stress that we don't do copyright investigation in every case. In some of those materials where it's unclear, we will make those accessible only to the members. So does this pose some complications or moral issues to those who might be our neighbors to the north or to our global members in other parts of the world? Yes. However, what we've done is implement what we determine to be best practices in terms of fair use definitions and making sure that readers, no matter where they are, understand that some of these materials may be subject to copyright restrictions, be that here in the United States or where they reside with these materials, and that they must acknowledge that the use of that material is really only for their personal research and non-commercial purposes. So I see that there's another question. There was a question about some clarifications, I think, about searchabilities. One question was, so can I search within the issue or item currently being viewed? Or does that search only broadly cast across the entire collection, I guess, is the or part of that. So yes, you can search within the issue or item currently being viewed. When I clicked on a particular issue of La Orquesta, it showed that you were within 1861, December 1, or whatever the date was that I was looking at. And that title search at the top of the screen would search only that item that you were in. If you wanted to search across the collection, you could go up to the title level and search there, or to the cross-title search that you'll see at the top of your screen. A quick question about the metadata that's available for search within the DDS system. The question was whether we intend to mirror all the fields of metadata that are present in the CRL catalog within the DDS, or is that just a subset, or perhaps a completely different format of the data? Or in other words, is DDS going to incorporate all of the same discovery capabilities that the catalog has? And the quick answer there is no. The catalog itself represents all of the material cataloged according to MARC specifications. So it includes a whole lot more information about the titles and the resources themselves, including LC subject headings, including links to the print materials through linked OCLC numbers, and the like. The catalog is still the fullest functionality search of the metadata itself. The DDSNext system implements, broadly speaking, the basic Dublin core metadata. And we have not completely resolved the entirety of that metadata that we're going to include for every title or every item. So I still recommend that the catalog is the best place for you to search for bibliographic information, and particularly the holdings information for CRL's resources, both in print format as well as digital formats. However, the DDS system itself, with that metadata, will allow you to search across subject keywords like politics and government, or social conditions, or any particular subject tag that we can make available in those. And we're still working out some of the protocols for how much of that we will include. Quick question about the authentication system. As I mentioned, we have not yet implemented a full authentication system within there, but we do intend to implement that within the next several months, and that will continue to be through IP authentication. Just as our current system is, we are also, I believe, and I'm turning my head in case somebody's shaking it, we will integrate the shibboleth authentication and the other systems that we've implemented for the previous DDS systems as well. We're working on the technical specifications for that right now. Final question, I think, before I have to turn this over, and I'll be happy to answer more of these if we have time at the end, or by email later on. Does the cross-collection search that I show, does that limit searching only to collections held by CRL, or could that be, I assume, collections across different platforms? At this point, the cross-collection searching is limited only to collections held by CRL. We are investigating the capabilities of integrating metadata from other collections into the system itself. And we understand that the IIIF platform does enable cross-collection discovery through various means. We're continuing to explore the possibilities of that. One of the considerations we've been recently discussing is making sure that all of the metadata for CRL's digital resources are incorporated here, so that if you're using that cross-collection search, you'd be able to discover, at least at the title level, materials that are held within a different component of CRL's digital delivery system.